did you see Jon Stewart today with the whole, not today, 3 days ago,
Yeah,
the
I
Second
did.
Amendment thing?
Yeah.
But I have my thoughts on this. What was your reaction on the way he handled it? It's like 8 minutes.
Here's the thing: Jon Stewart is really good.
Yeah.
And for example, like I can look at this objectively. When Jon Stewart was on with back then it was Tucker and was it Chris
Crossfire.
the guy-
Yes.
Crossfire,
Yeah.
right? And then he was on with Bill O'Reilly. Look, I agree with obviously Tucker more. I would agree with Bill O'Reilly more. It was a masterclass. I remember Jon Stewart answering when Bill O'Reilly says, like, oh, okay, but Stewart, you do this and you say, and people do trust you as news. And he said, that may be, but I don't know if you know, the lead into our show is puppets making crank calls.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just completely disarms him. It's like a masterclass. But in this, here's the problem. He's brilliant. And this is the beauty of someone who's really adept with comedy. He sells to the audience that he knows what he's talking about. I watch it right away and go, bing, 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 because I've been off air. It's like I've been champing at the bit, just like, oh my God. Where he quotes this, like, what is the leading cause of death with kids? It's not, it's not drag shows. We've done a whole segment on that. You know that number is completely fake, right? Where they said the leading cause of death with kids is firearms. That includes kids 19 years old.
Yeah.
And when you eliminate that stat of 16 to 19, it's not even close. When you eliminate the stat of 14 to 19, and it's all inter-gang related, when people say, hey, this is the leading cause of children, you're right as a parent, and this is the disservice the media does. As a parent, you want to know, is there a danger in my bathtub? Should I not throw a toaster in there when my twins are, learning how to play with a rubber duck? That's probably a bad idea. Not going, okay, hold on a second. How do we save kids? Don't join a gang at 17 years old in Memphis. That's the stat that he throws out, but he's so smooth and collected and so much experience in dealing with adversity. And I don't know how he edits it, to be fair.
No, and I could see editing though, Steve. I could see it cutting because the guy right wants to speak.
I don't know, who's the guy?
He's a congressman in Oklahoma.
Come on.
This guy was. You're talking about this is a heavyweight versus a lightweight right here.
Exactly. When I saw the answers, then he just kind of fumbled through his response. I was just like, gosh, there's like 5 things that you can say in response to this. Like, do you hate women, Jon Stewart? Because people use their gun to defend themselves over 1 million times a year, and most of those are probably going to be women that need to be able to have a force equalizer. Do you hate women? Why do you hate women?
Right.
Like, there's an easy way to say this isn't as simple as you're making it seem.
Yeah.
I just had an argument. That's why we were slightly late with a Canadian at the hotel pool. I was like, Joe, like, this is, you've met me off air.
He's like, hey, we're going to be late.
People say, what is it? Like, I'm this way. I'm a little more quiet sometimes off air because I just kind of get tired.
Except with the Canadian.
But I was with the Canadian. He was sitting there talking. He was bitching about all these stops that he had to make and checkpoints where they would stop you on the road because he was going out to Moncton and or maybe he was going to somewhere. I don't know if he was going to PEI or Moncton, New Brunswick, and he was talking about this. I'm thinking, oh, this is a guy who gets it, right? Like Johnny Boy, who's out there, a friend of mine I've known him since I was 12 in Canada. And then all of a sudden I realized he starts talking about Parkland and how America hasn't done anything. And I said, well, hold on a second. What should they do? And he goes, well, in Canada, if you had our laws, I said, you just had a man go to prison for 10 to 20 to life for defending his house when 2 men broke into his house with guns. One was roughing up his wife, likely going to rape her, and he shot this home intruder, and he's the one who's doing time. And the Prime Minister came out and said, you do not have, Prime Minister blackface, by the way, did it like 15 times.
I love it.
He
Yeah,
came over.
Scumbag.
We've done blackface many times on the show as Justin Trudeau, the ongoing sketch. He said, I don't know about that. I said, yes, you know about that. Your prime minister said you don't have the right. You do not have the right to defend yourself with a firearm. That, to me, like Gandhi said, is a far greater act of evil in robbing a nation of arms. I said, by the way, you also don't have freedom of speech in Canada. I went through my friend Mike Ward, who had to go all the way up to a Supreme Court for a joke and a human rights tribunal. It is a subjugated, conquered people in Canada, and they don't even know it. And that's the rest of the world outside of the United States. And they don't even know. They just accept it wholesale. So anyways, your question, I wanted to hear what you had to say about Jon Stewart. But I think he's brilliant, but I don't like what he did here was dishonest. But very clever.
But here's the part, though. I mean, okay, say John's Booker team. Let's go to who John's Bookers are. Booker, that they book. Guests.
People have hooves.
You mean to tell me you didn't have 90 other people to get on there that are bigger heavyweights than bringing him on?
Of course they do.
I don't understand.
Well, I've
you
had
mean to tell me you couldn't have brought in a Ben? You couldn't have brought in how many?
The president of the
That's
NRA.
by design.
How many?
That's by design.
Well, but that to me, that because let me tell you, I watch it. It's got 11-something million views. Can you? How many views has the show?
11.2.
No, I'm sorry. It's now at 12.5 million views. What is the number you see there? Do you see a number?
That's just Twitter.
No, that's not the right number. It's got 11.5 million views.
Yeah.
This thing crushed it. It went viral. There's no question about it.
With a tailwind, by the way, from YouTube and big tech. That's a problem.
But if you watched it, he handled himself so well. He says, so more guns equals more safety, right? Then why is the number going up? Well, you can't really. And the guy tried to make the argument of, he was not a good debater to represent this argument.
He leaned in and he goes, when will it be?
When? Yeah, exactly.
Right?
But nobody was there. $1 billion guns.
Well, exactly. It's like how many? It's like nobody was prepared to counter and say, well, actually, the stats that you're quoting aren't accurate. We've talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Take out suicides, take out gang violence, and you're looking at very low numbers, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
He wasn't ready with any of that stuff, and of course, this guy was picked.
Well, he's a paper tiger. I had to run in. So one of my, who by the way, I'm still friends with, a manager had to drop me back then. I don't want to say his name because unfortunately he has to be in the closet. But he was the guy who he was conservative, and he had Jon Stewart's people reach out to him and say, "Do you have anyone else out there like this Stephen Crowder? But we don't do conservative pundits. But do you have someone like him?" In other words, they were saying, we like that he's young, because they'd see me from comedy and maybe a reel was sent. They said, we like all these things, but we don't do conservatives. So if you have anyone like him who doesn't believe as he believes, we'd love to have them.
Wow.
And then when I released that, that was like a long time ago, talked about it. Of course, they called my manager. I just talked about it. They called my manager this guy can't be talking about what we're doing behind the scenes. We're never going to have any of your clients again. Whatever. And I just remember kind of speaking about it off the cuff, but that happened. They keep people away by design.
Stephen, what's the difference to you between Jon Stewart and Bill Maher?
Ooh, not much. And here's the thing. Bill Maher now, I think, is going to I don't know, and I would always say I never question motivation. But, I did go through a pre-screen with Bill Maher's person. And I'm not saying that, I would be the smartest person on the panel. Far from it. But certainly if you look at some of the people who were on there, I definitely would hold my own. And I remember the pre-screen process with Bill Maher. She said, what do you want to talk about? And I was because I'm thinking Bill Maher's, a comedian, by that he often throws up his hands, okay, and laugh. But I remember saying well, I did just read the hashtag Oscars so white and just go to see the new live action Beauty and the Beast film where in 1740s France I saw Mary J. Blige be royalty fold into a bookcase. So I don't know at what point we start saying, hey, we're giving some roles that don't even make sense. Yeah. She goes, so with everything's going on, you want to talk about Disney? I said, no. I think when you're talking about Oscars so white and in 1740 slavery, right, when in that era where they would have been slaves, now making black, which of course, by the way, just to be clear, slavery bad, okay, all right, slavery bad, not supporting, but I was saying it's hilarious that at that point in time, it's so historically inaccurate. You're creating roles for black actors at that point that would never even be possible. And she said, well, what do you think about Russiagate? Oh. And I said, what do you mean? She said, what? I said, what was there? And I said this, and I said, is there something new? Yeah. She said, because, do you mean it was I don't know, I haven't checked the news in the last 12 hours, but so has there been something that's broken, evidence?
Late breaking?
She goes, no. She goes, no, but the whole situation. I said, well, okay, do you want to talk about Fusion GPS? Do you want to talk about the Steele dossier? Because all of this is something that was basically paid Oppo research, and we know it's completely fabricated and it's bullshit. I said, so you condemn me for talking about a cultural issue at large that we know is a sham, but you want to discuss a sham? And then when I hear Bill Maher going out saying, I told him to stop talking about Russia, it's that's what your booker was doing.
Yeah.
So I hope that his transition is real. I really do. I think he's probably been beaten up by the left a little bit. But then he comes out and still says that Biden's doing a great job and he's going to vote for Biden. I'm going, well, how do you come to that conclusion? I don't understand the disconnect.
Yeah.
Unless you have to say it.
Well, it's the same thing with Jon Stewart when he's like, it's the Wuhan Institute, right? Virology for the COVID. It's yes, of course. These are the same people that you trust, and now you say you still trust. Why? Why do you still trust them?
Yeah, I think you're right. They had those little moments where God, the real soul wants to come up, but then like you said, they're owned by somebody, bro.
They're surrounded by people
100%
who wouldn't allow them to say certain things.
Oh, for sure.
And he is at one point he took a pot shot at me and just some random podcaster or something. I was like, okay, I don't care. But he's done jokes from our show. My mom,
Bill Maher has
verbatim.
Ooh. Oh wow,
verbatim. And we know that it's been on his radar because his booker reached out. And so it's just this happens a lot. And I don't mean sort of veering into the same topics. I would love to see him come up. But when he says, hey, look, this is a problem with the ultra woke, and okay, fine. Then he says, Joe Biden's done a really good job as president, and I would vote for him. Is that really a net benefit? Because you've gotten people to listen to you, and then you've taken them to the end game of this is what you should do politically. And I go, oh, God. So I don't know. But the Jon Stewart thing, the guy is really funny.
Yeah, very good.
He's very talented, and that can trick people into him sounding like he's right. A lot of what he said there was factually inaccurate, which tells me he doesn't even do basic research because it just takes one link deeper into the study.
Yeah. Either that's a good cut, either that is a terrible opposition representing Second Amendment, or he just did a masterclass on asking questions to put the pressure on the guest, and there's an art in doing that as well.
Yeah,
and he's very good at doing that part. So. Okay, so if you enjoyed this clip, you want to see another one, click here to watch another clip. And if you want to take advantage of the latest Gold Signature Series products that just came out, we have a bunch of new merch that's out. This is a color-changing mug when you drink coffee. That lion turns into a real lion. And then we have hoodies with Valuetainment Gold on it, the Gold Signature Series hat, shirts, I'm an entrepreneur. Anyways, we have a lot of items. They're selling out. If you want to take advantage of the Gold Signature Series, click here. Place your order, sport your Valuetainment gear, and tag us with the hashtag Valuetainment.